Okay, so welcome back. We are with another video, and this time we are going to be ranking Azealia Banks' alleged feuds. The way the categories work is, first of all, at the top of the list, being the most messy, is gagged, and then we have Anna Oop. Then we have cut the cameras.
Cut the cameras. Dead ass.
Then we have anyways, so.
Child. Anyway, so.
And lastly, we have boring, sloppy.
Boring. Yawning.
I want to start off with the alleged feud between Azealia Banks and Iggy Azalea. This story has a lot of parts, honestly, and I'm not entirely sure where it started. All I know is the different tweets that were apparently made between Azealia and Iggy and whatnot, and that led to a spiral. I do want to mention out that fact that it was funny whenever Azealia Banks said Igloo Australia in reference to Iggy Azalea, according to what people said. You know, Iggy Azalea did respond to this, and there was a lot of back and forth. It was quite messy, to be honest, and for that reason, I'm going to give it a Anna Oop category. Next up, I want to talk about Azealia Banks' comments on Lizzo. And I'm not calling this a feud necessarily because I don't think Lizzo said anything about Azealia Banks, but Azealia Banks did say things about Lizzo, at least in one of the most popular clips, I think, that I've seen online.
Fat Lizzo! I hate you, Fat Lizzo. I hate you, girl.
You know, in this clip, obviously, Azealia Banks had strong opinions about Lizzo. And again, I don't think Lizzo responded. And I think there was some back and forth. I'm not sure. I don't know the whole details because, again, it can be very nebulous, to say the least. I do want to mention how Azealia Banks did take back some of her criticism, and maybe that changes her perspective to a less negative way, in my opinion. So for that reason, I'm going to give it a Anna Oop category. This is an honorable mention, and it was whenever Azealia Banks, I think she had some issues with her tour in Australia or something like that some years ago, or I'm not sure when it happened exactly. But again, she did go on Instagram and posted several stories about Australia, and she was voicing her opinions on the country and the music scene, and she was saying how Australia doesn't really have like that much of a good music, and with some exceptions according to what I read and according to what I understood. So yeah, this is an honorable mention, and for that reason I'm gonna give it a cut the cameras. Next up, I want to talk about probably one of the most wild alleged feuds, in my opinion, in this list, and that is the one between Azealia Banks and Sky Jackson. Now, I think this started when Sky was about 15 or 14 or something, some years ago, and apparently it started whenever Sky Jackson made this tweet. Again, I'm not sure if this is how it started. I'm not sure like what was this responding to or like what happened before this. But anyway, Sky Jackson did say that Azealia Banks should simmer down. Now, Azealia Banks, of course, responded to her, and she tweeted this back to Sky. And, you know, I think this was quite messy, especially because Sky was like 14 or 15, like she was a child. Sky, again, responded back to Azealia, and she said this. After that, it just kept going between Sky and Azealia, and, you know, there were more and more tweets from both of them. Azealia Banks even talked about Sky's mom, and Sky said that she has 2.3 million followers, and she called Azealia Banks Azealia Stanks, and she said that her mom did a way better job than Azalea's, and, you know, a lot of things, and, you know, back and forth. So I think this was one of the messiest alleged feuds, and for that reason, I'm going to give it a gagged category. Next up, we have the alleged beef between Azealia Banks and Grimes/Elon Musk. And I think this was the most random one out of this list because I would never think that Elon Musk and Azealia Banks would have some sort of exchange or interaction. I think it started because Grimes expressed her admiration for Azealia Banks and how much she was a fan of one of her songs or something. And then I think they were supposed to collab or something like that. And I guess they would have to meet in order to make a song or whatever. Then Azealia Banks posted on her stories and she said that she's been sitting at Elon Musk's house for like days or whatever, waiting for Grimes to show up to start the recording session. And then she was like, she didn't know when she's gonna be back, and the whole vibe felt like Get Out, quote unquote. Then she kept talking about Elon Musk, his privilege and his family's wealth, unquote, rooted in emerald and ore mines in Southern Africa during apartheid, according to what Azealia Banks says. Azealia Banks also shared an alleged messaging between her and Grimes was saying how Elon had mentioned something about 420 because he thought it was funny for the stock to be worth $420. And this was caused because Elon Musk made a tweet about considering Tesla going private at $420. So that is why Grimes was talking about to Azealia allegedly. Azealia Banks would go on to post screenshots, and it was allegedly a conversation between her and Grimes. And I think this is where it got the most messy because honestly, it sounds like a 14-year-old arguing with a 12-year-old. It's like some of these responses are just hilarious. And it was also funny how you can see in the screenshots that some messages are being sent at 4 a.m. So it's like, why is Azealia Banks allegedly arguing with Grimes over messaging at 4 in the morning? For that reason, I'm going to give it a cut the cameras category because it was honestly so bizarre and so like unexpected for this alleged beef to even happen. I do want to include another honorable mention, and I'm not necessarily calling this a feud or a beef because it was more of a response from Azealia Banks to a random comment from a random username. And I don't know what the post was about, but anyway, the random username goes on and says this, and I quote, "Christ, you're unattractive. Sick Bolton though. Good call with those." And then Azealia Banks goes off on him and she says, "You know, there are two types of American white men. The fat, inflamed, blistering red pork juice dripping kind of white men who think they're as charismatic and their more attractive counterparts, yet always smell like axe and garlic, have gout / frequent their local 7-Eleven. Then they are unassumingly charming white men with human colored skin, visible necks, healthy cholesterol levels, and full heads of hair. When I close my eyes and kiss them, they smell like sugar cookie and their lips taste like marshmallows. You look like your lips taste like envelope adhesive and bacon bits. You would probably burp Slim Jim and oppression into my mouth. Rest assured that you never have to worry about an unattractive me." Honestly, I don't even know what to say about this, but for that reason, I'm going to give it a gagged category. Next up, I want to talk about Azealia Banks' comments on Beyonce. Again, I don't want to call this a feud because Beyonce didn't say anything, not that I'm aware of. Again, I don't know how it started. I don't know what came first, but as you can see, and you can pause to read, Azealia Banks posted very long Instagram stories and also a reply to a comment. And she does allegedly mention Beyonce because in one of them she says something about, and I quote, 16 carriages doesn't even make sense in context, end quote. Because she's saying basically that Beyonce is from Houston, Texas, even though 16 Carriages implies sort of like a country scene. And, you know, Azealia Banks did mention a lot because it was very long posts, but I don't even know what to make of this. Again, I don't think Beyonce said anything publicly about Azealia Banks. I don't think she will. So for this, I'm just going to give it a anyway so category. Next up, I want to talk about Sia and Azealia Banks. So it allegedly started because Sia tweeted the following, and she says, "Sacrificing animals for your gain is the wackest S I've ever heard. Get ahead by being awesome, kind, and working hard." Now, a lot of people think that Sia was talking about Azealia Banks because Azealia Banks had posted before something on social media relating to her closet and allegedly sacrificing animals. So some people think that that's why Sia tweeted this.
The amount of crap that's about to come off my floor right now, guys. Oh my god. 3 years worth of brujeria. Yes, you know I gotta scrape all this shit up. I got my sandblaster, my goggles. It's about to go.
Now, Azealia Banks would later on go on and post this, and she used the caption as the following. She says, "And your ugly, pasty, dry, white lady, winter skin face is the ugliest face I've ever seen. That must be why you hide it all the time. Have some respect for my traditional African religion, you pompous white bee." I think this is also an Azealia Banks post. I'm not sure because it doesn't say, there's no like username, but this is what I read was posted by Azealia Banks, and she says, "Sia, sis, call me and let me crush up some maravilla and some honey and cascarilla and make me a salve for that chapped face of yours. Don't you ever in your pompous white life ever fix your stupid chapped face to say anything sideways about my religious beliefs or practices. This is your first warning." Now, I don't know if Sia ever responded. I think it was still quite messy. So for that reason, I'm going to give this alleged feud a oop category. Now, I was trying to find cases in which the person actually responded, and this is the case for Lil Nas X, and it allegedly started whenever Azealia Banks tweeted the following, and this happened recently, like October 2024, and she said, "Lil Nas X really fell off so hard. LMFAO, that little C-rag, swore she was the T. B has no bars, ha 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 ha." And then Lil Nas X responded, and he said, "Azealia, I could never make a hit song again, and you would still never in your B, soap selling chicken, sacrificing botched body, hating a miserable life, reach a 10th of my success. Love your music, by the way." After this, and according to Pop Base, and I quote, Lil Nas sent love to Azealia Banks after their exchange earlier. Quote, "Sending you love, Azealia, wishing you nothing but guidance and clarity. I want you to chase your dreams, get on your S. It's the best time period in music for your art to thrive. I don't care what you FS, something else." Azealia Banks did respond to this, and she says, "Where are your bars? We are not going to use patronization to circumvent the topic here. The topic is that you cannot effing rap, son. Lil Nas X, you're a terrible lyricist with pedestrian musical sensibilities. We need to come to a consensus on where your talent is. Fine, we can agree that you're a little piece of eye candy for these desperate old white H in fashion. But where is your music, B?" Again, I don't know if Lil Nas X responded to this or if it ever went anywhere else, but I think this was, quite recent and quite messy. I wasn't expecting for a Lil Nas X to respond, so for that reason, I'm going to give it a gagged category. On the last entry, I wanted another case in which the person responded, and this was the case for Doechii. And it allegedly started whenever Doechii tweeted this. It was a screenshot of a DM between her and somebody else, and she says, "I'd love you on my remix for my single Crazy if you'd be open to the collab." And the person responded, "Let's do it, send me the track with open space." Now, a lot of people were alleging that this was about Azealia Banks, and Azealia Banks would later, according to clashmusic.com, say, and I quote, "You have this effing Doechii chick who I have no effing clue who she is," end quote. Now, a lot of people were confused why she would say this. And then Azealia Banks posted a story about somebody talking with Doechii, a Twitter account. And then Doechii was basically saying how she doesn't know what went wrong because she reached out to this person. I mean, apparently it was talking about Azealia Banks. And she says, I have to correct you, my love. My label had no idea I had even reached out to her. I reached out to her directly myself, and she confirmed I added my team on the loop. My team was very excited for me after I told them. She responded to me. And then this other person says, so then what's the issue? And then Doechii says, I'm not sure. Sometimes when people have been hurt so many times, they develop a defense and end up creating the illusion of problems because they don't allow themselves to accept something good. Trauma responses. I was respectful, excited, and grateful to make art with her. So then Azealia Banks posted this screenshot, a laughing emoji. After this, Doechii one time posted something on Instagram, and she says, okay y'all, what should our fandom name be? And then you can see Azealia Banks posted a comment, and she says, definitely should call them the wannabes, in which Doechii actually responded, and she said, the first time you came for me, I let it slide out of respect for my elders. It's not my fault you selling bee soap and I'm selling platinum records. Leave me alone, please. I don't know exactly what was the order of things, but then Doechii would go on and post a story in which she says how, and I quote, I use my platform to make money and inspire people, etc. And then it took you 3 business days to come up with that comeback just to resort to colorism. Boo. I get tiring being an attack dog for the very same white gays you allegedly vehemently despise. That's the only audience that wants to watch 2 talented black women go at each other's throats. And a lot of people think that Doechii was talking about Azealia Banks giving the past interactions. So I think after this, or before, I'm not sure, but Azealia Banks will post this in which she tags Doechii. And it's very long to read, but she's basically saying how she's recommending her soap to Doechii because she has some conditions. Like Azealia Banks is saying that Doechii has certain like skin conditions, so she should use her soap. And yeah, that was pretty much it. I think the back and forth was quite messy, so for this entry, I'm going to give it a an oop category. That is it for this video. This is what the final ranking looks like. And make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.